said, hello and thank you for joining us for Get Good with Articulate Storyline, presented by San Diego ATD and ISPI SoCal. I am John Morley, an external instructional design consultant, and if I can be of help to you on a project, my email address is in the chat window. Now, a quick word from our sponsors, San Diego ATD and ISPI SoCal. This time next week, ATD gets social with cocktails and conversations. Real people at a real place. This would be Cutwater Spirits for a spooktacular. First Tuesday of next month, ISPI is having its first Tuesday Lunch and Learn. This is a big deal. They're introducing a new program, ISPI's AI for Performance Improvement Program, and ISPI's actual President-elect will be there, Dr. Lynn McBain, to facilitate the discussion. Speaking of discussions, the first Tuesday is followed by the first Friday. The article being discussed will be Neuroscience Reveals 4 Ways to Get Smarter, Make Better Decisions, and Stay Mentally Agile. And who would not want that? That would be facilitated by me. Then next month, Storyline Workshop comes back with returning guest speaker Thaddeus Smith, who will be talking about states, various innovative and different things you can do with states. They're not just for buttons anymore. Nobody knows everything about Storyline, especially me. So this evening, we are very fortunate to have with us Daniel Canaveral, who will be talking about how to add a little bit of delight to our presentations. Daniel is an instructional design technologist with Osaic, which is one of our nation's leading wealth management firms. He is an industry recognized visual design expert and experienced e-learning developer. He is a frequent contributor to Articulate's e-learning challenge, where I met him. Located near historic Charleston, South Carolina, Daniel enjoys creating professional, innovative, and online learning solutions, which we will see this evening. And you can contact Daniel in the email address in the chat window. So, Daniel, thank you very much for being with us. And the evening is yours. I will stop sharing. So.
All right, well, hey everyone. I really am grateful for this chance to lead another one of these discussions with people like yourself, people who enjoy course development as much as I do. So as course developers, we know there are 101 things to consider when creating a digital learning experience beyond just what accent color should I use, right? If you would indulge me for a moment, I'd really appreciate reading where you typically begin with your course development projects. What are some of your top considerations during that initial stage of development? If we could use the chat for you to type out your thoughts, that'd be wonderful. And we'll work under the assumption that you have free reign in all matters of design. So let your mind run wild. Where do you start? What's your initial concern with that first stages of development?
Right. And I always want to know who, yes, the timeline and budget, very, very good to know. Yeah, learner pain points. Yeah, knowing about the audience is my primary concern.
Okay.
And making it engaging.
Let's see.
Now, I think one of the overlooked ways about engagement is good writing. Writing is very important, and so much of training is not that particularly well done.
Not that I can think of.
Okay.
I mean,
So
I come in pretty late. You said make the assumption we have complete control. That's a bold assumption for us. We usually don't have that. But
right. So I wanted to remove any barriers, right? Our topic for this evening, as you see on the screen here, has to deal with a concept that you're likely already addressing, guys, because it feels instinctual to do so. And that concept is designing for emotion. I don't know if that came up in the chat, or one of your considerations evoking emotion in your design.
That's very important. The emotion and memory are controlled by same areas in the brain. So the more emotional the message, the better.
Exactly. So designing for emotion just happens to be the name of a book that's highly regarded in UX spaces. I first heard about it in a presentation I heard by the author of that book, a gentleman named Aaron Walter. Um, I remember listening to that presentation and thinking to myself, how can I more thoughtfully incorporate some of these concepts that he was addressing, micro interactions, micro animations, into my course design? And, and the purpose behind it is to help create what he calls moments of delight, moments that keep our learners emotionally engaged as they go through a digital learning journey. Throughout the book, I got to read it a little bit ago. He challenges product designers specifically, but it applies to us as learning designers too, right? To consider ways to evoke positive emotions like joy and surprise into the user experience, in addition to the standard functionality, reliability, and usability. That those four those four concepts kind of form a pyramid, if you will, with emotion being at the top. So with that in mind, I'd like to now invite each of you to think of the last time a digital experience made you smile and what caused it.
Well, I like seeing a little animated character walking across the screen. That was amusing.
Okay.
Yes, and it was nice also because it was unexpected. So it
Okay.
kind of gets your
Right.
attention a little more.
One that I recently came across, I was using Asana for a project. I was trying to learn more about it. And I don't know if you have experience with Asana, but one of their big things is their magic unicorns and other magical creatures that float across the screen when you complete a task. Here, let me show you what I mean. So there's your otter. I don't know if you caught that. From time, like as you complete other tasks, you'll see a unicorn, you'll see a bear, a cat will fly across the screen, and it's just to put a smile on your face. That's all it really is for.
And
Yeah, Trello would do that, and sometimes Basecamp will do that, and
Uh-huh.
it just because it catches you off guard, it might say something kind of funny like, "Oh, you're all done. Here's a carrot," or something. You know, so what?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Why? I mean, I don't know if everybody would have the same sense of humor, so there's a little bit of risk there, I guess, that
Mm-hmm.
what some people would find charming, other people would find irritating, but I
Yep.
think it's fun.
yeah, you need
Yeah,
to get
I
that
totally
by your
agree.
client early.
Absolutely.
Now, Daniel, what again are you using to do that, please? And how's it spelled?
Oh, Asana, is that what
Yes,
you're referring to? Yeah, it's Asana.
Asana.
Yeah, it's a digital adoption platform. It's for project management and so forth. Yeah, if you ever used Monday.com, it's in the same vein.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've used
So why do these moments matter? These moments of delight? Well, it's because 76% of businesses view customer engagement as a top priority for digital transformation efforts. And perhaps more importantly, because poor interaction design is actually the third most common reason users abandon digital learning opportunities, and only information um, overload and lack of clear goals topping it.
yeah. Online training has a pretty poor reputation because a lot of it is pretty poor.
Mhm. So this brings us to our first topic, microinteractions. I'd like us to consider how this can help us to kind of close that gap and really evoke some positive emotion into our course design. All right, so we're going to talk first about what they are, what are microinteractions, and why they matter. All right, so first up, microinteractions are defined as small task-based interactions that provide feedback, that's key, or guide users through a digital experience. And why do they matter? because this immediate feedback provides users or allows users to build confidence in their ability to complete tasks, and that intrinsically leads to increased motivation. Through this immediate feedback, users see a reduction in cognitive load by building familiarity or trust with expected system behaviors. And then lastly, immediate feedback allows the user to experience emotional reinforcement through motion. So users learn to essentially feel the system interface rather than just using it, perceiving it as something that's inviting, friendly, organic, alive even. And that's really important to build that connection. Before we look at an example of a micro interaction, I think it's important that we consider the building blocks of a micro interaction. Renowned UX design leader Dan Saffer identifies 4 components. The first up is a trigger. A trigger is a concept that we are very familiar with as storyline developers. A trigger is typically user or system initiated. Some common examples might be the clicking of a button or a feedback layer that displays when certain conditions have been met. Next, we have rules. Rules consistently establish what happens after the trigger. Think of a marker in Storyline. Will you set the content of that marker's label to appear upon hover or upon click? That is a rule that you need to decide up front so the user knows exactly what to expect. Next up, we have perhaps the most important one of all is feedback, and the purpose of which is to keep the user informed as to what's happening during the micro interaction. Now, note that feedback can be offered visually, auditorily, or haptic. Interestingly enough, markers allow you to tap into all 3 of those. And then lastly, we have loops and modes. Loops refer to how the micro interaction behaves over time and how long it continues. And modes refers to the default settings you put in place for the micro interaction, and then what options you provide the user, if any, for changing those settings. In an example we'll see in a little bit, you might allow the user to dynamically and globally change the color of a marker using a combination of variables and state changes. Any questions thus far, guys?
Does a loop mean repeating?
Essentially, yes. It's
Okay.
how a micro interaction evolves throughout the project, or does it stay the same, right, in a constant loop? I'm going to make my way over to Pendo.o. It's a software experience management platform I've been using at work. It's designed primarily to help businesses improve how users interact with their digital products. As we explore the tool, I want us to focus on how, through the use of micro interactions, Pendo is able to effectively build confidence in new users by reducing cognitive load and tapping into their emotions.
Recent studies show that short-term memory blows out after about 3 items plus or minus 2.
The first thing you notice on the screen is probably the pulsing button down here in the corner. All right. It's the only thing that's animated, and that's done on purpose, right? They want to clearly identify the call to action. If we were to give that a click, you would see a list here of different mini trainings, if you will. This resource center, it kind of acts like the resource tab in Storyline, but it's much more robust, much more interactive in its design. I want to walk you through this first item, Get Started with Pendo, a step-by-step onboarding guide. All right, so if I were to give that a click, we see a familiar checklist here. Okay, we have these micro learnings, if you will, and underneath the name of the micro learning, we have this nifty completed step number of number. Okay, and this allows a user like myself who's new to the program to identify quickly just how long is this thing going to take me, right? I know I may have time for two of two for something that's, only 2 steps, but something that's 13 steps, I may need to, carve out some time in my schedule to really absorb all the information I'm going to see there. And then you'll also notice these progress indicators to the left of the micro learnings here. I've completed the majority of them. There's one here. I can't for the life of me figure out what I'm supposed to do for those last 2 steps. So I need to reach out to somebody because I am 93% of the way there towards being completely done with this onboarding. So on an emotional level, these progress indicators, they play on the feeling of accomplishment that we as adults experience when we can finally say, all right, I'm done. I'm going to check the box, right? We all live for that feeling.
Do you
And
consider that an aspect of gamification?
um, I don't know. I think with gamification, you are looking at like a point system of some
Right.
kind, So if by completing this, I was able to get what at my company they call them celebrate moments points, right? So by being recognized at my job, folks can nominate you for a celebrate moment, and X number of points equals X number of dollars. So
Ooh.
50 points, $50, right? And I can spend that on like gift cards or whatever. Um, so if something like that was in place, yeah, I would totally think that's a gamified approach. Um, so yeah, so on an emotional level, it tries to play on our feelings of accomplishment. On a subconscious level, progress indicators reassure us that the system is working as intended and that our efforts are being recognized by someone somewhere. So I can show you really quick how Pendo operates. So I'll click this first one. You'll see I'm provided a gate screen here. It tells me what's the purpose of this micro learning. They call them tours. So what's the purpose of the tour? What I can expect to learn? And then I have the option to begin the tour or return back to the screen to see the rest of the options available to me. All right, so if I were to select Start Tour, you now see these tooltips appear within the application itself. That's what kind of sets Pendo apart from your standard trainings. You're learning in the application itself. Okay, so I hover over the products. I then make my way down to pages, give that a click.
So just to confirm, we're seeing how to use Pendo within Pendo.
Exactly.
Okay.
What a novel idea, right? Not having to go to an LMS to pull up a training, watch a video, and then return to the system to try to apply what you learned. You get to apply it directly in the application, in the software.
Well, that's part of the
Right.
contention that well-designed software doesn't need training. It should be so intuitively obvious, you just know how to use it.
You got it. Okay. So you can see with the tooltip, it tells you exactly what you're supposed to attend to. And once you have, you can click next to move on. Okay, so now we're looking down here at the column views. All right, so here I've reached the end of my tour. I can click learn more and it will take me to essentially their LMS where they house all their training videos to learn more, or I can call it quits and get my tick, right? Get my checkbox tick there, okay? So I was thinking about this and I wondered why can't we see something like this in Storyline, right? We see it in Rise, and here I'll start the presentation back up. So we see this in Rise, right? The use of these progress indicators followed by checkboxes as you move down the course, but we don't see it in Storyline. And I thought that was an oversight and something that I I don't know, could help to allow users to keep track of where they are in the course beyond just a simple check mark, right? Like it'd be nice if, I don't know, maybe it was tied to the timeline in some way. Um, so you
Well,
reach half of it.
to what extent does a visible menu not do that?
I'd open it up to the group. What do you think?
That lets you see the screens that you've already seen, the slides that you've seen.
But it's binary, right? Like it's either you you saw all the content or you didn't. But there,
Exactly. It shows progress anyway.
yeah. So I was thinking, how difficult would it be to create to incorporate these progress indicators into Storyline? And then I thought, why stop there? What if we could build something like we just saw in Pendo, a resource center with progress tracking capabilities, and if we could have it live in a master slide that can be called upon simply by applying a certain layout. And then I thought, well, if you can do that for one master slide, why can't you set up numerous master slides and have dedicated resource centers linked to those that provide microlearning opportunities based on where the learner is currently in their digital learning journey? So I actually gave that a try, and that's what I want to show you guys tonight. This is a site that we should all be familiar with. This is the eLearning Heroes community page, a screenshot of it at least. And you'll notice we have this question mark down here, very similar to Pendo, right? I patterned this almost one-to-one to what we saw in Pendo. By giving it a click, you see this pop up. Because I'm on the home page, I see a little mini training on how to get started with eLearning Heroes. So some of the things I might be curious about is, how do I update my settings? How do I join a group? How do I make my first post? And ultimately, once I complete those 3 tasks, I've essentially onboarded myself, familiarized myself with the website.
Now, Danny, is this something you added, or is this built into eLearning
You
Heroes?
built this in Storyline. This is something he built in Storyline.
Okay.
Exactly, right? And this is a resource center, a feature I built on the master slide, and then using JavaScript, I have the button, that question mark, move to the front of the page. As we're well aware, anything you put on the master slide by default is moved to the back. So if you have content on your slide, it's going to overshadow, it's going to cover up whatever you have on your master slide. But using this nifty little JavaScript code, it can bring that button to the front and then allow layers that you have linked to that button to appear on top as well. So that's what I wanted to demonstrate here. So I only have this first one functional right now. So here I'm being prompted to learn more about the My Settings page within the eLearning Heroes page website. And we have these callouts telling me to check this out. So these tabs up here allow me to switch pages within the My Settings space. This button here allows me to upload a new profile picture. And this button over here allows me to update my username, update my email address. And then we can continue building out with a scrolling panel. We can continue building out this page and add more tooltips, right?
Are we
All right.
actually in eLearning Heroes now, or is this something that you've built over
No,
it?
just built it over it.
Okay.
Right? Just a mock-up, if you will. All right. So what I did here was create variables in the background that chart whether the user has hovered over a hotspot, or in this case, a highlight. And if it does, you switch it to true, right? And it then adds a value of 1 to a counter variable that updates over here. It updates these darker gray spaces, these number spaces,
Right.
right? So we had 3 highlights, 3 tooltips. We viewed all 3. And so I have essentially completed that task. And we see this little celebratory animation. Okay. So if we were to go through the others, we could follow like a similar pattern of learning. We
When you
could,
were going through that tutorial, is the user able to enter information in there that will actually go into their profile within eLearning Heroes?
it's not connected. This is a
Okay.
separate, yeah, this is separate from eLearning Heroes. But if it was something like Pendo that could lay on top of eLearning Heroes, you know, then you're working within the website itself, right?
Okay. So this is just in time training to let the user know how to do what what they will then
Exactly.
do within the eLearning Heroes site.
Exactly. It's
Oh, nice.
the second best thing we can do, right?
Right.
All right. So you see I've completed 3 of 3. I still have 3 of 12 items left to go. So in addition to this progress indicator updating, I also see this progress indicator updating as well congruently. Okay, so I can click to go back, and when I return, my settings are still in place. I can close this and return back and see all my effort has not been wasted. Everything is tracked. So I'm going to go now to the next page. And here's a screenshot of Articulate's live training webinars page. And here's where you can create, I'm going to demonstrate how you can create multiple master slides and just repurposing the first template of that research center. You can carry it over here, update some variables, and now you have an updated resource center with content specific to this page within the eLearning Heroes website. All right. So here we're talking about training. So I want to know how to register for a training and how to be a guest speaker. All right.
I can see how this adds a lot of comfort factor for the user because this is just in time training where they see on the screen something that may confound them. They just go to the question mark and that gives them just in time little micro learning.
Yeah. So I know eLearning Heroes, a lot of their content, you got to dig for it, right? So if you want to learn, you got to know the keywords, right? So you can go to user guides up here, but you can also go do learning over here under the connect, right? So maybe I want to learn best practices. You would think that, wait, best practices, that should go under the learn category, but no, it's under connect, right? And if you go down here, you'll see that they have this discuss one. Yep, discuss articulate products. So it just takes some digging. If Articulate was to invest in something like this, it would be a one-stop shop, right? I know all my questions can be answered just by going to the question mark.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff here.
Yep. All right. So if I were to return back to the first page, you can see that this is updated. It's got its own resource center. And again, training webinars page has its own. So how do we do that, right? So if we want to look under the hood, because that's the purpose of this, we'll see at the slide level, all we have is a trigger to jump to the next layer because everything is done in the master slide.
Yeah, I want to see that Java code, the JavaScript.
All right, so here's my button. It has 2 states, a normal and a hover. We have a JavaScript code here that says push that button to the foremost Z index, right? Foremost, closest to the screen, okay, above everything, in front of everything else that may appear, okay? And I'll share all this in the chat here in a moment.
Okay.
All right, and then we have a number of variables that are being referenced here. For the home page, we have a dedicated show resource center home true false variable that will serve as the toggling mechanism for showing and hiding the resource center. So by clicking it, we turn the value of that variable to true. And when the value is true for that variable, we want to show the resource content layer. And conversely, when the value of that variable is false, we want to hide that layer. Okay?
So are you saying that turns that JavaScript on and off to move it in
No,
front or in
this is
back?
not connected to the JavaScript at all.
Oh, okay.
The JavaScript is just to ensure that whatever we have on the slide master is going to appear in front of the slides within the main flow of our project.
Okay.
Okay.
And
All
then what specifically is the variable that you just, the true false variable? What is that doing?
It's allowing us to toggle to toggle it on and off, right? That's what a true and false variable does. It's a light switch, right?
Right.
So when it's true, show this layer of content. Right?
So that would be in response to the user clicking the little question mark button.
You got it.
Okay.
You got it. And if we wanted to, we could set it to a keystroke. There's a number of ways we could, make this more accessible for folks. All right, so we've just expanded it by clicking on the question mark. The value is now true for that variable. We have options to close it and effectively switch the value back to false. And we can do that by clicking the X, and you can see the two triggers that are highlighted here, one of which is to change that variable to false. Mm-hmm. And then we also have the ability to click the trigger itself, the main trigger, the question mark, that also changes the value to false and closes the layer. Okay, toggle. All right. However, if they were to click the header for that training, we would then move on to the second layer of information. In this case, get started with ELH. Okay, so now we're here. We can see all the mini trainings tied to get started with eLearning Heroes. And we see a number of triggers here. And it really is just copy and paste here. There's nothing to get scared about. So first and foremost, we have these progress indicators. Okay. So these progress indicators, if I were to highlight one of them, you would say they have 3 states: 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3. It's now complete, right? So this one has 3 states because there's 3 steps. One that has 5 it's going to have, of course, an updated version with 5 slots indicating progress. Okay. But again, right now I only have the first one built out, so that's what you're seeing here. So first trigger, update the progress indicator, the circle, to 1 of 3. Okay, when the variable gets started with eLearning Heroes counter changes. So here is that number variable I mentioned earlier. So when I hovered my mouse over the orange highlighted space in that light box that we saw earlier, it added a value to this counter. And that then updates this space here, this reference. All right. So when that value changes to 1, when 1 is added, 1 is added over here on the screen for display. And we just follow that 2 more times. When I hover over the second space, the value is another value of 1 is added, and bringing up the counter to 2, and then the reference is updated accordingly, right? So those are those 3 triggers there.
So this doesn't really track whether the user pays any attention to it. It's just if they go there at all, they get credit for it.
The user has to hover over the space, and the act of hovering over the space reveals the tooltip.
Okay.
So we can confidently say that they at least saw the content of the tooltip,
Right.
and hopefully learning has taken place. But it's a trust thing, right? It's always a trust thing.
Certainly a legitimate way to do it. I was just wondering.
Sure. All right. And then we have this a secondary item. This is what I'm calling the overall progress indicator. So this also has 3 states. If I were to build it out completely, it would have 12 to reflect the total number of steps found under this guide. Let's get started with eLearning Heroes. Okay. And that's going to get updated to 1, 2, 3 at the same time that the counter is updated. Okay. Am I losing anyone so far? Okay. All right. So they're working in tandem. Okay. And that's what these 3 triggers are. Change the state of this overall progress indicator to 1 if the counter is equal to the value of 1, 2 of 2, 3 of 3. All right. So that's
a very good use of the states. I believe you could do the same thing by having different objects there with the different numbers and either hide or show them. But the states seem to be a cleaner way to do that.
Sure. Right. The wonderful thing about states is it helps it frees up your timeline from getting bogged down with exorbitant numbers of items.
Yeah, very good point. Very good issue.
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna toggle that and hide it for a second. All right. So these triggers are contingent on a variable changing. Okay. It's at the point of a variable changing. However, to maintain this new state, right? So I visited 3, my progress indicator has been updated to 3, and I see my celebratory GIF, right? So if we were to look at that, I have it set to hidden by default, and I say change that GIF to normal when the timeline starts if the value of the counter is equal to 3, which is complete, right? 3 of 3. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's why my GIF appears at that point. Okay,
and so what GIF again appears? Is this some sort of an animation that kicks off?
Exactly. Yeah, it's this one here. If I return, it's this here.
Oh, yeah, you get the check mark then.
Yeah, that's where you see your check mark appear.
Emphasis thing. That's nice.
Yep, you got it. Your little micro animation. Okay. All right. So that same setup is in place for the remaining 3 lessons. And as I was explaining just now, in order to maintain that state, whenever the user revisits this particular screen, we have to have a repeat of these triggers, except it's not when the variable changes, but it's when the layer starts, when the timeline starts on the layer.
Okay. And this is all done on a single layer, is that correct?
You got it. Okay. All right. So if I were to apply these same triggers to the subsequent lesson, we can easily do that by selecting everything, copying, making sure that this next lesson is selected, pasting, and then it's just a matter of updating the variables um, to reflect this new item, which is join a group.
Let's see. Carrie has a question, I believe.
I
Yeah,
do.
Carrie.
I was wondering if you were going to, I've never used a GIF file in Storyline like the way
Okay,
you're doing it, and I was wondering if you were going to cover how you did that.
sure. Yeah, I'd be happy
That'd
to.
be marvelous. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm a huge proponent of this site, Lottie Files. Um, I think it's pretty inexpensive. I think it's $20 a month, um, and you get unlimited access to all their free and premium, of course, premium content, and you can download these animations in whatever resolution you want and in various formats. You have full control over the pacing, the frame rate of these animations, the colors, the color scheme. You can even remove items from the animation. So like here, this animation has circles. I don't want circles. I can go in and toggle those layers off. So I just see the streamers. All right, so this helps with branding and helps to really make it your own. Okay.
And is there an inventory of these? A whole bunch of.
Oh, I haven't even begun to dig into
Uh,
all the possible
uh,
options, but they have everything from 3D to 2D um, and everything in between.
oh, this alone is worth the price of admission.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, here's the one I was just using. All right, the one I just demonstrated.
Yeah, that's pretty fancy.
Yeah. So all the animations I'm using in the PowerPoint deck come from Lottie files. Okay. All right. Let's see.
You didn't really discuss the most important part, which is it a GIF or a GIF? I mean, that's really
I knew you would bring that up, Ron.
that's the big argument. It's like Republican and Democrat.
Yeah, I'm not even going to touch that. Um, all right, so um, there's one key piece I wanted to point out here, and that has to do, yes, that has to do with this JavaScript. So it has the way JavaScript makes the connection between the item on the master slide and the trigger is using the alt text label that you provided. Okay. So here I went into my circle, right click, accessibility, and provided the alt text of resource button home. And you'll see that that same name appears in this line, resource button home.
Yeah,
So
not
that's
something
how
you ever want to change once you got that in place.
right. Okay. So targeting that alt text is going to be critical if you want to continue building out multiple resource centers. So you'll see that this master slide is dedicated to holding just the eLearning Heroes homepage resource center button and its content. I created a duplicate once I made it the way I like it. I have all my triggers in place. Duplicate. And now I have a secondary one, which I've updated and renamed to live training webinars. And as expected, I went into the accessibility and updated the name from resource button home to resource button webinar. Took that, updated the line here in the JavaScript code, and then created a secondary trigger variable rather, show resource center webinar, and then applied it everywhere where resource center home used to be. Okay.
So to confirm, you're doing a different master slide for every one of the different little dialog boxes that come up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And so now on the main layers, I can just simply apply a master slide layout, and it'll bring with it the resource center. Okay. So the eLearning Heroes homepage has the homepage master slide. Training has the training webinars page. And that allows us to have this functionality. Dedicated, just-in-time training based on where the learner is in their journey.
So what we're hearing is that once you get that one master slide, you just duplicate the master slide over and over again to create the different little dialog boxes here. And
You
then you
got it.
go in and customize the dialog boxes.
Mm-hmm.
But all the functionality remains in that master slide that you're able to duplicate over and over again.
You got it.
Very nice.
All right, so I realize that I have taken way too much time with this in this area. So I want to, if we can, pivot and move straight into some more demos.
I do have one question on
Sure, Ron.
that build. On your hovers that were adding the little dotted boxes,
Yes.
what considerations did you take in your triggers to keep it from them hovering over the same thing multiple times to get the three
Perfect.
scores?
Yep, I'm glad you said that. Okay, so
So you didn't do a number, you did a true variable and then use that to transfer to a number?
exactly. So
Okay, so
yep, so these have a true false variable, and that allows you to not, you know, add to the counter each time the mouse goes into that space, right? It's either true, it's either on or off. And if it's on, then add 1, right?
yeah, that's a common mistake people make. They just use a number variable and
Yep,
then they get the illusion that someone's clicked on three things and they clicked on one thing three
3 times.
times. Very good.
You got it.
That's a
You
clever
got it.
design.
Yep, all things you got to consider, right? All right. Let's see here. I don't know if you noticed, but something that I enjoy doing ever since I learned how to do it, I changed the background of my light boxes as well as the X button to close it. So I can play with the transparency level of the background of the dialog box of that background. I can play with the color, and then I can also either turn off the X and have a dedicated button on the lightbox slide to close the layer, or I can use the default X and just update the color to help it stand out more.
And you use
By
a script
default,
for that.
yep, just a JavaScript script. So I can share that if you all are interested as well. All right. All right, so let's see. So we looked at those. Okay, so here's one that I thought was pretty fun building, given that it's close to Halloween here. All right, so here's your typical login screen. Okay, we have a 12-digit code that we're looking to enter. If I were to enter something incorrect, something I just learned is that you can dictate the number of characters in an entry field so that users are not entering more than is necessary. So I capped it at 12, so I can hold 1 all day long and it will never go past 12 digits. All right, so I put all ones, I click. Did you guys hear that? Did that come through?
We heard it. I heard it.
All right, and you saw the little animation there.
Yeah, that was cute.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to put the actual code, and I see my green check mark. it
There we
accepted the
go.
password. All right, so that's your standard one. Let's add some delight to it. All right, so here's the same setup, but as I type, you see a state change. The pumpkin follows the string.
Yeah, wants to see what you're doing.
Okay. All right, so let's say I put in the wrong code. I get the same notification, something's off. If I put the right one, I see a progress indicator. I get my green check mark, and I saw a little animation up here. Okay. All right, so this was done using some JavaScript. So this uses a real-time input tracking feature, okay? And that's what allows the pumpkin to mirror or mimic the act of watching the string of input, okay? And I did cap it at, I think I put it at 12, and I have variables in place, not variables, I have states in place that account for ranges. So 1 to 2 characters, 3 to 4 characters, and then 11 up to 11 and on. Okay, so this will make
Did
more
you
sense.
did you hand code that JavaScript yourself, or is that something you took from someplace else?
Copilot.
Copilot. Okay.
Copilot, yep. Copilot has been a godsend in many, many ways. All right, so here's my animated head. Here is my various state changes. Okay. So I got this off of yet another platform that I frequent a lot for my personal and private work. It's called Envato Elements. This also is subscription based, but it's so worth it. It has everything and anything you can think of, except GIFs. It doesn't have GIFs and animations, but and that's an oversight on their part. But they have Gen AI, and you could create animations, using dedicated prompts, specific prompts, videos, images, of course. Um, it's incredible. I can't speak highly enough of the resources that they provide. Templates for PowerPoint, Photoshop, anything and everything you can think of, fonts. But yeah, so I downloaded a 3D image of the pumpkin head. I then brought that into PowerPoint, positioned the head in various poses, exported those as PNGs with the labels 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 6. And these names are what you see connected here in the JavaScript code. So if
Yeah,
the
that
input
is
is
slick.
between 1 and 2, change the state of the pumpkin head to the 1, 2 state, right? 3 and 4, 3, 4. Okay. It's actually really straightforward, but I never would have been able to draw something up like that without Copilot's help. All right. So here we see state changes that update according to a variable called graphic state. Okay. Graphic state is mentioned here in the trigger right here. Okay, so it has to be specific. You have to type it in specifically as you see it here in the variable wizard. All right, so as the state changes to 1 to 2, change the position, the state of the animated head accordingly.
So
And do that.
cute. Daniel, we are running out of time here.
Yes, sir.
I'm learning. I'm happy to stay as late as you are, but you might want the rest of your evening back.
Sure. I'll just finish talking through this one.
Yes, please.
And then I do want to show the marker one. I think the marker one is pretty fun too.
Okay, please.
It opens up some possibilities. All right, and then here I have a video of that animated head, that kind of where it does the jump and everything. When you enter the right input, click the button, it's going to show the successful layer. And it's just a video. I have a hotspot over it so folks don't click it and play the video multiple times. And then I also have a hotspot over the progress indicator, which I had to turn into I had to export as an MP4 because it wasn't playing nice as a GIF. So that's a workaround. If the GIF is not working, export it as an MP4 and just ensure that the background matches the color of your project's background, of your slide's background. Okay.
The video object would probably be take up a little bit more space in a GIF, but if that's what it takes, that's the way to do it.
Right, for sure. All right. So earlier I talked about how it would be possible to dynamically and globally change the look of a marker across a project. All right. So here I have some, for reference, a blue and a black variable reference indicators. All right. So I'll hover over
the perfect pumpkin.
This marker. We have some audio that fires. And if we were to
the perfect pumpkin,
right click on it, it's a trigger that I don't use very often, the right click, show a layer or change the state when the user right clicks. But I tried it and I think it works really well for this purpose. So here I right click and I'm presented with two color swatches. So if I were to select black,
they both change.
Helpful.
They've both changed. The variable for black reads true now. And if we go to page 2, we're on page 1 right now. If we go to page 2, we'll see that those markers
pumpkin goodie bags
have also updated.
Don't forget the stuffing.
Okay. And that's because it's calling the black variable. It's reading the black variable that it's changed.
Don't forget the stuffing.
And if I change any one of them to blue, blue now changes to true. And across the project,
the perfect pumpkin.
It changes them all to blue.
Don't forget the stuffing.
Okay. So why would somebody even want to do that? It might come down to just personal preference, just making that an option. But what if, like in this instance, that red really bleeds into that orange, right? It's hard to see it.
Right.
So in an instance like that,
don't forget the stuffing.
I might be like, where's that marker? I can't find it. Well, if I change the color to black, now it stands out.
Don't forget.
So is this necessarily something you would want the user to do, or is this just for the designer?
Well, I mean, as a designer, you would hopefully, account for those possibilities, right?
Right.
Position the marker maybe closer out here where it's easier to see, and not over. It's color theory. You weigh those possibilities, right?
Helpful tip number 2.
But yeah, so I wanted to show how that was done. All right. So I don't believe there's any JavaScript involved here. It's just simply strategically using variable changes, toggling on and off to achieve that effect.
Daniel, thank you very much. That was very enlightening, and you are doing some fabulous stuff. I really enjoyed seeing that.
Thank you.
Yes,
thank
this
you.
was great. Thank you.
Very enjoyable. Very creative work. Thanks for sharing, Daniel.
And Carrie, thank you for joining us. Ron, thank you for joining us. And good night, Daniel. Certainly appreciate all of the work you've been doing and your graciousness in sharing it with us.
Yeah, happy to do it, John. Anytime.
Okay. Good night.
Bye, everybody.